Hello, everybody. It is Dee and Renee, and we are coming to you live. I am in Northern California in Los Gatos. I have a Ideal Protein clinic here, and Dee is coming from Medicine Hat, Alberta, and she is a Ideal Protein coach up at Red Cliff PharmaSave. And so today we are bringing you a very special show, which is part 2 of the Thanksgiving holiday. And of course, we have the Canadian Thanksgiving coming up this weekend. Dee has already cooked at least 2 Thanksgiving dinners that I can see. Her family's probably sick of turkey and roast and chicken and all that for these amazing cookbooks. So if you are here and you are live, give us a hashtag live. And of course, if you know the system, give us a hashtag live and your nugget of wisdom during the show, and we will pick someone at the end for a free cookbook download. And Sherry, I want to let you know, I've been in Mexico, but I am getting you that cookbook download tonight. So, all right, Dee, tell us a little bit about what's been going on. I know in your neck of the woods, it has been snowing. Is that correct?
It is, and it's trying to snow again right now as we speak. So, yeah, it's we're only at about -5. So we have some crisp mornings. As you know, we will head into the deep freeze at some time this winter, but I'm hoping for a mild weekend as we have our family all together. So we actually have a big weekend coming up. We have a family wedding and about an hour away from where I live. And then my mom is going to host turkey dinner on Sunday for the whole fam jam. So it will be an action-packed weekend.
Wow. Okay. Well, we got a few people online here. Sandy gives us a hashtag live.
Hello,
and
Sandy.
Diana, I love that, you're transparent and you don't know what a hashtag is. It's like the pound sign, basically. And it's part of what we do here. Everybody's just showing up, and basically it's like, classroom style, like, I'm here. So, Sherry, good to see you. Hope you heard that cookbook's going out tonight. And Carla Green, nice to see you. And if you guys would let us know where you're from, we love that. We love all of our followers. All right, Dee. So, as we all know, I'm not the biggest cook in the world, but this is something, particularly during the winter time, that I love to do. And it's so easy. So if you are on a low carb program, if you're on Ideal Protein phase 1, the easiest thing, so easy for you and your family, is this baked chicken. Mm-hmm. And even I can do this. I like, just brush the outside with a little bit of olive oil. I throw some herbs on it, and I put it in the oven, 375, for about an hour and a half. Am I right, Dee?
You're right in that range, girl. The beautiful thing about recipes like this too is that you don't need an exact temperature or an exact time either. It's gonna be a little forgiving. So you betcha.
I love it. See, I know how to make a recipe.
Mm-hmm.
All awesome. Right. I want to say hello to Coach Alana.
Hello, Alana.
Diana tells us she's from San Antonio. Nice to have you with us.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, Dee, in looking at different types of proteins, mm-hmm. I know that, a lot of us are, there's different things we do during the holidays. So let's just talk for a minute about ham, about kind of fattier meats like prime rib, and, some things maybe that we have to be, particular about.
Yep. So when, holiday time is a popular time for things exactly like that prime rib, ham. Maybe somebody, you know, has got a fatty brisket going on the smoker, and you get a little concerned about that. So I want to just put your mind at ease that for one meal, you're going to be okay. You will trim any of the excess fat. So say if somebody served you some prime rib or some brisket, or even sometimes cuts of roasts can have that really extra fatty layer on it. Go ahead, trim off the fat. Don't panic. A little bit of tips that I, you know, can give you is that when you're roasting something like a turkey or a chicken, the fat does go down and drip inside through to the carcass and ends up in the pan. The good news about that is that your actual white meat is not saturated with fat. It is going to drip on down through in the cooking process. And that's why if you are on something like Ideal Protein in phase 1, 2, you're not going to eat the stuffing that that bird might have been stuffed with, because that is why the stuffing is oh so tasty, is because it marinates in that bird's natural fat, and that's what makes it so rich and delicious. And so that's why when you see side recipes that are baked, you know, on the side, that is why. When it comes to ham, though, folks, the best advice I can give you is you want to cook a real bone-in ham, and don't purchase one that has been pre-rubbed or pre-seasoned with a bunch of sugar sauce, mustard sugar sauce and things like that. So just a plain bone-in ham. Again, you can cook it till it is well done, so a little bit crispier, cook that fat off, and just give it a good trim. The beautiful news is when you are in maintenance, your body knows what to do with a little bit of animal fat. We still don't encourage you to, you know, eat glorious amounts of it, but your DNA was designed to actually help break that down. So it's something that is going to be safely incorporated when you're in maintenance.
Well, I like that. It gives you a little break on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So one of the things, you know, things to think about, like, you know, you're not going to be having that honey cooked ham or what have you.
Yeah.
But all of this is super, super yummy and very satisfying. So I love all of the recipes. You know, just like if you want to go back in the recipes, you will find that last year Dee did a stuffing recipe. So that is out there for phase 1.
We'll do some reposting of graphics in the comments on the Low Carb cooking page, and then on our other pages we'll make sure that all those graphics are up and easy to find for your dining pleasure.
Yeah, because they're definitely in there. And if you haven't gotten Dee's dinner book or her baking book, just go to deesrecipes.com for those downloads. And, you know, the baking book does have the apple sage bread in it, which is amazing. All righty, Dee. This is one of my absolute faves. Of course, I love this with steak, though. Steak and mushrooms, you know, those are just like hand in hand. It's like a special sauce on the hamburger.
Yeah, right. I am a really big fan of simple, easy side dishes that taste amazing. And this one falls right into that category. And, you know, most of us do really cook traditional things that our family has passed down through generations when it comes to holiday time. But I'm also a big fan of start some new traditions, start some new side dishes, maybe even main dishes. You know, maybe it's just time to switch it up. And roasted mushrooms are so simple because you're just going to actually physically take your hands and work in the garlic and your oil and your spices and roast them. That's simple. Give them a turn once or twice, and they are fabulous. And if you're in maintenance, you can add a little bit of butter or a little extra olive oil, and they are just, they're decadent. You just take something as simple as a fungus and turn it into something absolutely fantastic. And the other wonderful thing is you can choose any type of mushroom to do this with. I like the smaller button type mushrooms for roasted mushrooms, but there's not a wrong one to use either. So you can pick your favorite and away you go. Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys are on here and there is a nugget of wisdom that you are getting here, all you have to do is type #live and the nugget of wisdom, and we give a download to Dee's new dinner recipes book. Also, if you have not, if you're not on our weekly newsletter, be sure to type the word newsletter, and all the recipes come on Mondays. But because these are going to be next week, I'm sure we'll post them out there a little bit quicker for you. So super simple mushrooms. And this looked like a delicious recipe also, Dee.
Another very simple one. So turnips make a great faux potato. So very often, we use words like faux or, fake. I like the word faux better than fake, but turnips are an amazing potato substitute, and they are a select vegetable on your phase 1 sheet. Rutabaga is also an amazing potato replacement, but they're occasional. So turnips are a little bit easier to work into your weekly meal planning, and they're a milder tasting vegetable. So they roast beautifully, they mash beautifully, they bake beautifully. They also take on seasoning very well. And the main seasoning in this one is caraway seeds, and they are a wonderful addition with the lemon. So it's a simple toss in your seasonings and a touch of olive oil. You roast, and then you add your green beans to finish the roasting process, tossing again, and voila, a delicious side dish. And if you've watched past Thanksgiving shows, I have done many versions of that traditional green bean casserole. So I figured it was time to change up and get those beans out of a casserole and just as a side dish on their own. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so nice to try new things because we do typically have the same things. And especially if we are making lifestyle changes and trying new flavors, why not, throw some turnips in there, right?
Yep. They're delicious.
Okay, so as we're kind of going on through some of this, Dee, what is your favorite mash?
Oh, honestly, radish.
Radish mash?
Radish mash. Mm-hmm.
Okay, you guys, so look at last week's show, and we had actually smashed radishes on that show. So check it out.
Radishes are an ingredient. So when you do your meal plan and prep, guys, and if you're not a big meal plan and prepper and you need some practice at it, that's okay. So we're gonna always talk about it. But radishes are such an inexpensive vegetable, and they're so versatile, and they're one that they last a long time. So you do your grocery shopping and you don't use them on day 1 or 2. They're still good on day 5 or 6, and they are amazing roasted. They're amazing mashed. They're awesome texture and crunch in any type of salad that you're doing. And of course, that touch of color. So I'm a big fan of color. I don't want to eat anything that's just one color. That is just it's more appealing to me if there is multiple colors in a salad. And so I love those radishes, but mashed radish with a little bit of dill is amazing. So, but I mean, you can do cauliflower mash and rutabaga mash and chicory root mash. And I mean, we can mash anything.
So put #live and what your favorite mash is, and you'll be also included in the recipe giveaway today. We're going to give away a dinner recipe book today at the end of the show. And we want to say hi to Jenny Lee here.
Hello.
Hi. Thanks for joining us. Okay, Dee, so we got some cauliflower here and what else? Tell us, what's this?
This is a roasted cauliflower salad, Mediterranean style. So if you love the taste of Mediterranean, and that's a whole nother show that we can do, because Mediterranean recipes are different based on the region that those Mediterranean recipes come from. So some use different vegetables in their recipes, some use different sides. So this salad has some capers in it, some Italian parsley, the tomatoes, Roma tomatoes, and the roasted cauliflower with a lot of garlic. And if you were in phase 4, I would get you to also add some really tasty olives to this salad. So you actually roast your cauliflower infused with garlic and oil, and then you let it cool and assemble the rest of the salad together. So it is another delicious. You could serve it warm. I prefer it cool because then my tomato and parsley and don't get mushy or wilty. So I actually like this one as a side salad. So really simple, really tasty. And again, so very simple to roast your cauliflower on a sheet and just let it cool and then assemble. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, we have to say hi to Melissa.
Hello.
And Jenny Lee gives us a hashtag live. She likes cauliflower mash, but she's going to try the radish mash. And Karen says the same thing. She likes radish mash. All right. You guys are all on the same page. I've never had radish mash. But one thing I do love is I love to use radishes as kind of like little baby red potatoes and make them in the morning for breakfast with 2 beautiful fried eggs. That's like my comfort food.
That's awesome.
It reminds me of Sunday morning breakfast and my dad. Okay. So last but not least, always my favorite recipe. And Dee has made us an apple crisp for the Thanksgiving show. And last week, we also had some great desserts too. So make sure you look at both shows. This is part 2.
Yes. There are so many versions of, ideal protein or phase 1 apple crisp. But I feel that each time that I make it and tweak the recipe a little bit different, it gets better. So when you do a traditional apple crisp, you use a little bit of lemon juice to stop your apples from turning brown while you're tossing them in the sugar and flour, etc. But what that little bit of lemon juice does is actually it also lends such a fantastic hand in flavor. And so when I'm creating and trying to imitate recipes, and sometimes they come out and it's like, yeah, it's okay, but it's just missing, a little bit of something. So this one actually has a little bit of salt and lemon juice and real vanilla, of course, lots of cinnamon. And when it comes to sweeteners, I really want to talk about this, so bear with me for a few seconds. You could use granular sweetener to imitate real sugar, but the real news on that is 1 teaspoon is 1 sweetener. So it doesn't go very far. So I always like to turn to things like the maple syrup. In the US, the Walden Farms, a serving of maple syrup is a 1/4 cup. That's a lot of syrup. So it gives you a big bang for its buck when you're using it in recipes. And in Canada, the Ideal Protein maple syrup is also a 1/4 cup is a serving. But in the US, that one is a tablespoon per serving. So be really mindful of your sweeteners that you're using if you are following something like the Ideal Protein protocol, and not just for Ideal Protein, but if you're doing any other kind of low carb, low sugar, ketogenic programs, all of those sweeteners have a carb in them. So just be mindful of that and really limit them. So this one, I did use a little bit of maple syrup in the base recipe and just a little touch of actually the caramel sauce on top. And yeah, I'll give you step-by-step directions. I've started pre-roasting the chayote whole and then actually cutting it up like an apple from that state. And that is also a little bit of a game changer in how you construct your apple crisp as well. So the chayote is basically pre-cooked, way more like an apple, and it releases the liquid more like a traditional apple too.
Yeah, and Melissa has a good point.
Right.
She
All carb picky. Oh yes.
She says that she thinks that it's so important when you're doing any type of a keto diet. A lot of keto diet users think that they can have these unlimited sugar-free syrups and sugar-free dressings, and then they don't get the satisfaction that they want because they're not losing and feeling really frustrated. And a lot of it is really that just the fact that there's just too many sweeteners. Yep. That are going on. So one of the things that I thought we would talk about, Dee has no idea ever what I'm going to say next. So she's going like, oh boy, here we go. If you don't belong to Renee Lynn's Inner Circle, go out there and find my book and join us over there, because it's just a private group where we really kind of introspect and go a little bit deeper. And there's usually a daily question of the day. So today's question of the day was, finish the sentence. I haven't been able to stay with past diets because ... And I just thought it was so amazing. I got so much, boom, instant. People were, really engaging with that post. And so, some people said maybe it was too hard to follow, lots of recipes required, how to count all these calories. Some people said waiting too long to eat and then grabbing stuff, not so great. Too much structure, but really structure is what they really needed. Wanting instant gratification, lazy, losing interest. So Dee, I thought we'd talk about that. In the past, what keeps us from staying on program? What makes ketogenic diets or low carb diets a little maybe easier? I don't know. Is it just the commitment we're at that place?
I don't know. This subject it's hard to when you're honest, you can rub people the wrong way. So I love that question. And I really, because I actually did get to read through some of those comments. And one of the ones that just resonated with myself was the instant gratification comment. We are a society of instant gratification. So we have decided that we're going to go on a healthy program and we're going to lose weight. And you know what? You've all seen that graphic that goes around where the dog jumps on the scale and he doesn't like the number that he sees. And, so we're on a program for 3 days or 5 days or 7 days. And we're upset because, we haven't lost 50 pounds in 7 days. Like, what do you mean? I've put such great effort into this. And often we really lose sight of why we started the journey, what brought us to decide that we needed to do this. And for everybody, it's different. Everybody's why is different. And that's something that we do talk about a lot, is you really have to figure out why you're doing it. But if you tell yourself it's really important to you, you're going to find a way somehow, somewhere to do it. And maybe putting yourself on a really strict timeline isn't your answer. And if you find yourself making excuses, and I know that's that word can It really can rub people the wrong way, but we hear them week out, week in and out, week after week, day after day. And many of us actually find ourselves using them too. Like, it was just too hard this week, or I went here and they didn't have this, and or I was upset, and or I was feeling sorry for myself, and so on and so forth. And it continues on. When you really want to do it, you will dig deep, you will find your why, and it's really finding what works for you. So, you know what? There are probably 100 fantastic ways to get healthy, and you need to find what really works for you. But when it all comes down to it, every time we make an excuse, we are taking ourselves a step away from our goals every single time. And so it's not about being perfect. So that is like a huge, we've talked about this before. So like when I see a client in the room and they come in and they're like, oh, I had a terrible week. I ate a bite of my daughter's birthday cake. I'm like, wow. Like, so your whole week was terrible? Let's think about that. Like, like one bite of cake destroyed your week. We're on the wrong path, or we're on the wrong, because eating healthy isn't a punishment. Taking care of ourselves isn't a punishment. Feeling that guilty over a bite of something should not destroy your week. So we have to relook at those things. And instant gratification. So how many of us have jobs, and we have to work, and we have to save, and we just don't go out and buy things that maybe we think we want on a whim because, we want it. We have to have it today. And unfortunately, we all know that society really is leaning that way, more, and not necessarily greater value attached. So that's a whole other piece to it. Yeah, that's a whole nother piece to it. But the first thing is stop making excuses if you really want it. If you really want it, you're going to find a way to do it. Now, so I say stop making excuses, but maybe you need help with managing that. Maybe you need help managing some ideas on how to manage the language that you need to use with family and friends and coworkers and so on and so forth. And maybe you do truly need some help. Maybe you need to call that coach or a diet buddy or a friend or other things that I've seen lately. And, if you struggle, do you struggle in the meal planning? Do you struggle in the meal prepping? Do you struggle finding a few hours a week to actually get it done? But, really, if you take a look, a great way to start things is there's 24 hours in a day. Write that down and then start going, okay, how many of those 24 hours will I be sleeping? Then how many of those 24 hours will I be at a job? My, extracurricular kids sports, those kind of things. Write them down and figure out every day how many hours you have left over and decide what you're doing in those hours. Am I watching TV mindlessly, which there's nothing wrong with having downtime, guys, like don't get me wrong, but can you really be a better preparer and planner, a better grocery shopper? Or there's nothing wrong with having your groceries delivered to your door. Renee can tell you how to do that, yeah, I can tell you how you can cook 4 meals at one time so that you have 4 days of your week covered, in a 2-hour window. Maybe you just need some help with that, a little bit of restructuring. And all these things don't have to be learned in a day, in a week, in 2 weeks. It's practicing good habits. It's practicing what you need to put in place for long term. And once again, we're not talking about perfection every single day. It's, and sometimes, guys, it's just learning to roll with the punches that maybe a day or two or that life hands you, and still being able to handle what comes at you. So I know that's all kind of like really vague, but
I think that it's so different for each of us, and for me, what hasn't worked in the past is I wasn't fully committed. Like it was just too easy for someone to call me up and say, let's do this. I haven't seen you in a while. Come on, let's go have a glass of wine. Let's eat Italian food or what.
Yeah.
That's usually the two that get me. But I did want to share, one of the things that we can do for ourselves is to always be learning, always be listening to something positive that maybe teaches us a little tidbit. And one of the things that I posted yesterday in my inner circle is a great book to listen to called Mini Habits, Smaller Habits, Bigger Results. And there's so many great podcasts out there. There's so many great things that we can actually listen to if we just improve one little thing. So, and we've talked about goal setting in the past and what have you. Don't set yourself up to fail.
Yeah.
If you're going to set goals, not more than maybe start with one per quarter, make them achievable. So if you do one per quarter, you've reached 4 goals over the year, maybe you go for one every other month and then you've reached, 6 goals for the year. So, those are, it's different for each of us and be patient in the process. So happy Thanksgiving to all of our Canadian friends. And I wish you tons of fun. Sounds like you got a busy weekend and not only do you have Thanksgiving, but weddings and lots of family, which is really fun. Everybody, thank you for joining us. I'm trying to look through the hashtag lives here. I have one from Karen, one from Jenny Lee, with the nuggets of wisdom. So I only have 2 nuggets of wisdom today. So we're going to give away 2 books.
That's awesome.
It'll make it easier on us. Karen, you won a book, and Jenny Lee, you won a book. And so send me your email addresses, and I'm sending Sherry one tonight. So give it to me right away. Get me while I'm hot. All right, you guys. Super great to see everybody, and we will see you next week.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.